live.
All right, we are live. JID XYZ is live. Zengig's new live stream where we are talking about things that affect each generation in the workplace. I'm Pete. Good to see you guys again, as always. How are you today?
Good. Good to be here. Good to be back.
Yeah.
So I'm the Gen Xer. What about you guys? Go ahead and introduce yourselves real quickly.
So for those of you who have not watched, I'm Peter. I'm the millennial, the Gen. Is it Gen Y? Is that what
Gen
it's
Y.
technically called? Okay.
We're the Gen Y. You're the one that gets booed. We know that.
Yeah.
I'm the in the middle one, but yes, I'm the millennial.
I'm Ashley, and I'm Gen Z.
And today, what are we talking about? I know we said in our little trailer, our teaser. Actually, I put out a teaser, Peter. We didn't invite you.
I was not there, so I don't know. You tell me what we're talking about.
That was not a coincidence. But no, we said we're talking about what everyone is talking about right now, which is Chat GPT and other AI tools. But we're really going to focus on Chat GPT more than anything else because it's really taken so many areas of the workforce by storm, so many areas of life. I think there's 100 million users already, which is amazing to think about that number. So let's start with how it's affecting us each individually. What about you, Ashley?
I mean, I think it's helped me to become more efficient at work. Whenever I'm having a day where I struggle with creativity and it takes me hours to think of something, I use ChatGPT to help me think of some ideas, and it gives me really good ones. What about you, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good for getting the almost creative juices flowing. Like in work, if I've got to work on a contract or something, I need to rewrite a section. Like it's really good for that. It's really good for informational type stuff. Even down to like writing an email to someone and you want to like rewrite it. You're like, I don't really know how I should get this worded. It works really well for that. I think it's been a really cool thing, and it's one of those things that like I'll talk to at least my peers, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've heard about it. I haven't actually like tried it." I'm like, "Dude, you got to try it. It's crazy. Like the things that it can do are so like beyond what the narrow scope of what you're thinking."
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are starting to talk about it on TikTok. I see a bunch of users start creating videos about it. What about you, Pete? What do you think?
Yeah, it's so I did a poll, an informal poll over the weekend, knowing we were going to talk about it on Facebook and Twitter. And my mix of followers, connections, friends, whatever you want to call it, it's a little bit different, I think, from one medium to the next. But on Facebook, most of the people I'm connected to are roughly my age, and I was
unknown caller
that only 50. There were 53% of the people I'm connected to who answered have not used it at all. That was surprising to me. Would you guys have expected that? I mean, granted, we're the old ones, but still, that I was just alarmed by how big that number was.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we've used it for work, and we've gotten into the habit of. So now it's become more commonplace for us. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who've not used it at all, or they've like barely heard of it, and they're like, oh yeah, that's that like AI like chatbot, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's more than just a chatbot. You're not like just like talking to a person back and forth. But it's not. That's actually not surprising to me. Like just based on like people I've talked to, like how many of them have not actually like spent time using it, or even other tools like it. Like Mid-Journey for like graphic design, like things like that. They seem to be. It's a relatively small subset, even with us talking about the large numbers that are using it.
So and I feel like it's like up and coming. Not a lot of people are hearing about it yet. And again, I just started seeing people talk about it on TikTok, and ChatGPT's been around a little bit longer, and they're just starting to buzz about it. So I feel like even before I started working like for Zengig, and we were talking about like ChatGPT and everything, I wouldn't have known about it. I don't think, unless people like in college are talking about it. I'm not sure.
So you weren't in the workforce before, really, the professional workforce, and you entered into a marketing world. And so I remember the day that Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, put out a tweet, and it was just rather innocuous. I mean, it just said, "Hey, check this out. It's our new." I don't even remember what it said, but I was intrigued right away. Went to it, and I was like, "Oh boy, things will never go back to the way they were. Like my perspective on AI changed. Peter and I have talked about it a lot because we get approached by vendors often who claim to have AI tools, and they're anything but AI. And as we've
It's
discovered,
been literally years. Yeah, everybody's loves recruitment AI and this, but really they're just like if this do that, if this do that. Like
it's not AI. And this thing was just an entirely different level. And then even since that initial launch to the public, it's already almost like going from fifth grade to being a senior in high school in terms of what it can produce. And that is just alarming to me. Oh, and how fast not only has it been incorporated into regular business use, but how quickly the technology itself has evolved and all the things that have branched out from it. I've never seen anything, and I've been around the technology industry for over 2.5 decades now, and I've just never experienced this kind of rapid pace of things just changing and evolving.
Yeah, and it's funny because even some of the talking points that we've got, like you can go on Chat GPT and ask him like, what are some common things that people ask, and it'll answer you, but in a way it's a conglomeration of just different sources. And I think that's one of the things that's been the most crazy for me to see. And when I've talked to people, like I talked to my wife, for example, and I was asking her about, she was like rewriting her resume or something like that. And she was like, can I get some bullet points for this? I was like, let me show you something on here. And I showed her. She's like, is this just plagiarizing from somewhere? I'm like, no, like it's dynamically writing. I can ask like, put it in this tone, put it in this, and it like rewrites it. I'm like, it's dynamically creating this. It's not just copying and pasting from a website. And I think that's the thing. People are like, when they like start to wrap their head around it, they're like, wow, this is crazy that this is like original stuff that it's writing for me based on these parameters that I've given it.
I found that it was also hard to talk to at first. You kind of have to get to know it a little bit. You kind of have to know like how to ask it like certain things and how to get exactly what you want. So I found that was something I struggled with in like the beginning, and then as soon as I started to figure out how to speak to it, I was like, "Oh wow, like it's giving me precisely exactly what like I want."
You have to ask it nicely. That's when I first
Yeah.
started like, please do this. Please.
I remember I did get frustrated with it once, and I was like, "No, this is not what I was asking for," and it was like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, it does apologize.
The good side of Skynet when Skynet goes live, they'll remember that I was nice to the AI.
Honestly, I do have that thought. I have to admit, because it just out of habit in communicating with something, it feels like you're communicating with a person. It feels like you're chatting via IM or online with a real customer service person or whatever it might be. So I do say please. I don't say thank you, I don't think, but I do say, can you please do it this way? And I'm like, what am I doing?
It
but then I go,
well, how human like it is. Like you're like, this is.
Yeah.
It feels like you're really talking to someone asking like a personal assistant. Could you rewrite this paragraph for me, or could you write a professional email saying X, Y, and Z? It's crazy. It's the same kind of thing with can't say it too loud, with Alexa, where you like talk to them and like ask her to do things. And I've seen my sister's kids, they'll like say like talking to the Alexa, and they have to like, she like has to be like, you have to say please and thank you, because kids, and I wonder if this is going to be something going forward, they're used to talking to the AI and they just demand like, do this, do that. And then that carries over to talking to people, and they get maybe lose their manners.
That's interesting that you would make the Alexa reference, because we have one in our kitchen, I have one in my bedroom, and it's just an alarm clock. That is it. I've not found a way to incorporate it into my regular life other than just it's our morning alarm clock, and it's like my wife uses it for a timer in the kitchen regularly. That's it. And other people use it like you're describing, Peter, where it's just so ingrained in their life now. It's they probably can't imagine living without it.
So I don't even use it to this extent of like some people do it. I mean, I listen to music on it, ask it for news, like that type of thing. But like, so like my mother-in-law was here and she was like cooking, and she's just like using it for like random things. Like, what's a substitute I can use for cumin? How many tablespoons are in that? Just like asking it just random things that I probably would pull out my phone and do. I'm like, wow, I know it can do it, but I don't even think of that it can do all these other things that we don't probably use it for.
I mean, I don't have an Alexa, but we do have Siri on our phone. And the other day, like my phone, nothing was working. Like the side buttons weren't letting me turn it off. The apps weren't like pressing. So then I was like, Siri, like, I never tried this before. I didn't even know she could do that. I was like, can you like turn off my phone? Can you reset my phone? She turned it off for me, and then I was able to like reset my phone.
I didn't
So
know
it's
that
crazy
either.
how they even
Good
have
tip.
the power to do that.
Yeah. So, all right, we just had a question come in from LinkedIn. I can't see who it's from. It's not showing us that on the screen. But do you guys think it's possible, whether universities or schools can catch usage of it or not? Will it be banned? So, I'll answer that from a little bit different perspective. I won't be surprised if ChatGPT is banned at a higher level by the federal government first. I mean, it's a different question than what we're asked, but there's a lot of people who have heavy influence. Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, Andrew Yang, a bunch of others have written a letter expressing their concern for the power of this thing, and that they asked for a 6 month moratorium, effectively, to on this being used. I know the White House has talked about it a little bit. I am generally not someone who wants government involvement in business at all. I make that pretty well known, but in this case, if I were in charge right now, I would consider the need to do that, because it is a runaway train, and there's no going back from it. And once you do start using it, like your iPhone or Alexa, you really can't imagine life without it. And this is a powerful of a nature we've never seen before, and it's just getting started. I mean, obviously a lot of work has gone into this point, but you just can see how it's going to grow and grow rapidly. And I'm very concerned. I'm enthusiastic about using it, of course, but I'm very concerned about where it's taken us.
Well, it's developing at such a rate, and I mean, legislation is slow. Like, so that it's developing at like a way faster rate. I don't even know if it can be like this stopped, or if it's just we have to hold on and see kind of where it like all shakes out to be. Not to get like super political, but I don't think it's a secret that from seeing like Congress does not understand technology, and so just from watching like so the people there and the age of them and all, like they're I don't expect them to fully grasp what's going on, or to even if they did pass anything in a quick manner, to be to the point where it could affect any of this. I don't, as far as the universities and everything, there are websites that are supposed to like check and tell you if something is AI created. I think as AI becomes better, Chat GPT, like I think that's going to be harder and harder to catch. For an example of that, because I was curious, so I played around with it. A couple of them, one of the hallmarks of Chat GPT that it will do when you ask it to write some content is it will put a conclusion in there, and it's always kind of the same. It'll use kind of similar words to like wrap up and surmise its point. If you put that directly in, that's one of the key points that it'll check the AI checkers to see like, oh, this is written by AI. If I take that, literally rewrite that last sentence on there, it then says, oh, I think this is 50% written by a human. If I change a couple other things in there, it can't tell. And I tested it a lot of times. So, and that's
So
just with the cutting edge like Chat GPT detectors.
Well, let's talk about, let's get to this question. Can it, and then should it, right? So can a university ban it? They can try.
They can
Good luck, to your point, where because that assumes that the ability to detect AI will stay ahead of AI's ability to be undetectable. And that is a battle that I would not want to wage based on what I've seen with this technology. Of course, the bigger threat is artificial general intelligence, where this thing really surpasses the capability of what any human can do. I don't think that's far away. I mean, there's a lot of different takes on that. We don't have time to get into much depth there, but I don't know if that's possible today, let alone in the near future. And it's an uphill battle, I think, for schools in general. At the high school level, I mean, my two high school kids talk about it. One of their friends was just suspended for, I guess, using this thing, and like didn't even try to defend it. Just waited on an assignment, put it out at the last minute, had ChatGPT write the entire thing, and is got in trouble for it. So teachers are trying, schools are trying, but good luck. I don't know if that's possible. And then the question becomes, for work, right? Should they care? But what do you think about all that, Ashley? What's your take?
I mean, for work, I don't think they should care, especially since, I mean, employees might be like more efficient using it. It might even help them with research, like we talked about before. I mean, I could see how with university they'd be a little bit more skeptical about it because people can write their papers and, essays on it. But maybe like schools can take like a different approach by like offering like, because this thing is always going to be advancing and people don't want to be like behind technology. So what if schools offered like chat GPT classes and how to use it responsibly in that way, like, maybe it won't get banned, and like then maybe they can, figure it out and know the consequences of like using it like to their advantage poorly. You know what I mean?
I think that at the end of the time, this is actually going to be good for schools because while it's going to force them to look at different things rather than asking a student to just regurgitate some information that ChatGPT can easily replicate. They're going to focus more on like critical thinking aspect of it. Like, tell me, like, what was your, reaction to this, or like, how did you relate this to this, versus just being like, you read a book, summarize the book. Okay, like, take that. How is this character? How did this character make you feel? Can you relate it to your personal life? That you could say that you could get that from ChatGPT too. But at that point, you're having to engineer the prompt so specifically that you're basically writing it in a different way yourself, I think.
True. I mean, that's a good point. And that what we're talking about, and Sasha alluded to it earlier, is prompt engineering effectively, where you have to train the tool to give you the feedback that you want, whether it's your tone, your voice, the depth, the format, whatever it is. And the more exchange you have with it, the more it improves, which is one of the coolest things about it. But Peter, to your point, there's in some cases you might find you're spending as much time doing that as you are, but that's such a short-term thing. That's going away. Like this thing, because what I expect, look, I've used it a lot at this point. I've learned that it has a short memory. Right now, you have to refresh the chat. You can't just ask it to remember an indefinite amount of things.
Mm-hmm.
Huge evolution from 3.5 to 4, as I alluded to earlier, and still I can sort of detect consistent things that make me realize like I could spot the difference in some cases, but I suspect that in others I wouldn't be able to, because this is only my own experience with it. But I just think in the very near future, it's going to basically learn everything that you've ever asked of it or remember it, and then regurgitate it back to you where it will be absolutely undetectable. And I don't know how I feel about that.
There's a huge overlap between, it's like the saying with like bears at parks, like, and how they had to design trash cans. Like, there's overlap between the dumbest tourist and the smartest bear. There's overlap between, the laziest writer or the poorest writer and like the smartest AI. Like, there's not going to be a way to determine, did a human write this? Did a chatbot? Because as it becomes better, the whole point is it's becoming more human-like.
And so for anyone who's not up to speed with all this, it goes way beyond that. Peter mentioned some of the video and that it can do. It wouldn't be photography, image, because you're taking cameras out of the equation altogether. It's taking natural language and turning it into images. You can do that with video now. There's already some pretty powerful deep fake images and videos that exist where you can mirror someone's likeness, you can mirror their voice, their tone. And while it's not perfect yet, anyone who listens to what exists today and sees the video that comes out today knows it's in the very near future. And I'm concerned that most people have no idea that how advanced all of this is and how quickly it's being adopted in the workplace. Without going into too much detail, we have already replaced, I'll say, a couple $100,000 worth of work that would have gone into an individual's pocket with ChatGPT in the past 60 days, not with projects that we have. It's a necessary thing to do to be competitive, but part of me is really bothered by that. And I think what's coming is not going to be good for the workforce in the near future. That because the adoption of this and the ability to incorporate it into your workflow and to replace tasks, replace jobs is going to happen at a pace that's much faster than the workforce's ability to keep up.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be, I mean, it's the same thing, with the Industrial Revolution, like, people being replaced by machines. This is no different. It's just happening on a way faster scale. So I would say that obviously jobs will just change. There'll be new ones. And it should make life easier for people to automate something. If you're saying, if you have a task where you have to run a spreadsheet every day and you run the same spreadsheet, how it's the same mindset as like, okay, well, what if I learn a little bit of Python, a programming language, and I write a simple script that can automate that task, that's something that would take me an hour every day. I spend 3 hours and I write this script and now it runs in 5 minutes every single day. And that makes, that frees up the rest of my time. It's going to be like that, where people are going to end up having more time to do different tasks. And I think that that's going to, I don't know how it's going to affect everything. I think it is going to be, I think it's yet to be seen, I guess.
I even see it like affecting. So the other day I went out to eat at some restaurant in Tampa, really, really good Japanese food. And instead of waitresses, there were screens where you'd put your order like in, like all over the place. And then you just go and like grab your food and then you go sit and seat yourself. So imagine all of those like machines, like those are basically like waitresses, but they don't have to like, pay like to have them. It's crazy.
Well, and as a user, it's a better experience in many cases.
I like those.
Yeah. I mean,
your order's right.
You know your order's right. You don't have to repeat it. You don't. I won't get too specific, but we were at a restaurant over the weekend, and you could just sense it was a big group, and you could just sense a frustration of the server. And I understand why. There was, I think, 10 or 12 people at the table, and she was having a difficult time keeping up, and who ordered what, and who was with which group, and you think, what if there was just a screen, right? I mean, it makes it all go away. Everyone's happy. No one has to get frustrated or get anything wrong. And but it's not as simple as saying, well, just do something else, right? Go find another job. These are jobs that exist that are going away, and they're going away. I've already said it on record once. I'll say it again now. I think there's going to be 10 million jobs at the current pace lost in the U.S. by the end of the year, directly from what Chat GPT can do. And that is it's an astounding number. I mean, that is huge. I want to be wrong, but I don't, if anything, I think that's a conservative estimate. Now, so here, let's get back to the generation. So Ashley, so I already said my Facebook friend group, over half the people aren't using it. What do you guys think if you did a similar poll with your peers? They may not be on Facebook, right? But what do you think what percentage you think hasn't yet used it?
I mean, I just started learning how to use it in the workplace. I don't know if university students are starting to use it. So I guess maybe I could see Gen Z starting to use it a lot more, because if these university kids are taking advantage of it, then that's, I think, a big number.
It seems to me that like the Gen Z, my brother is well, I guess he's like on the cusp. So, and some of his friends, so they're younger, mid-20s. I'll lump them in with Gen Z. They're aware of it, and I feel like it's only going to grow as they like grow in their professional career. Like it's something that's just like, there's always been some level of this around. And especially people coming in right now, like it's always going to have existed their entire career. So they're going to grow along with it. So I don't think there's not going to be that like, culture shock type of thing where they're like, oh, this is coming in and taking something away. They're going to be like, no, I've had Chat GPT or similar features or, AI generated stuff since I was in high school, my entire professional career. So it's going to be interesting to see, they're effectively born into it.
But then I feel like some people are going to be scared to use it because they don't want to get in trouble. Like you said, what if, the universities have like the technology where they can catch like, if it's written like more AI than human, like people are going to want to get scared because they can get like, suspended from school, like you said, before with your son. And
well, cheating. I mean, if you're cheating, right? I mean, if it's hey, the assignment is to write an original paper and you use it to do that, well, then you're cheating. That's inexcusable. If it is produce this result, I don't care how you produce it. Just like a math teacher allowing a calculator, and then you think, why wouldn't you use a tool to make things more efficient? As a human, this is how we've evolved, right? It's, you know, whether it was the wheel or fire, you want to find things that make our lives easier and better. And so we're going in that direction as long as these tools exist. And I think the outcome is what I'm worried about. So like I'll say millennials are probably well equipped to handle this because you're used to change, right? There's always something new. I mean, it's been how you've grown up. Where my generation is not going to change easily with this and incorporate that into their life. But I don't know that, I think we're more safe, right, on the other side of this. But Ashley, for you guys, even I don't want to assign a percentage of this, but it's a significant percentage of degrees that college students are studying for right now are not going to be needed. They are wasting their time and they don't even know it yet. And how quickly, I mean, just think about that, right? Let's say I'm right with that statement. What are the universities supposed to overnight shift and come out next fall with a completely different set of degrees? Probably, but these are all very real challenges that don't have great answers.
Yeah, I think that I've got friends who've got computer science degrees, at least as an example, and they're like, you don't go to college to get a computer science degree to learn to program. Like stuff changes, and the technologies that are going to be on the cutting edge and that companies are hiring for and stuff are going to be vastly different than they were when you went into school. So that's kind of a microcosm, I think, of what we're experiencing. They go in there like, it's the bigger part of that degree is learning, the theory and the critical thinking and how to learn more, and I think that's what universities are going to have to shift to, is like how to learn and how to find the answer rather than like just memorizing a bunch of stuff. Because it's going to be, having that skill that's what's going to make you marketable. That's what's going to make you useful to a company, is having those critical thinking skills and knowing how to figure out things on your own is vastly more important to me. I mean, if I'm hiring someone, that's vastly more important to me than somebody who already knows how to do everything, because something could be completely different next year.
So do you think we only have a couple more minutes here. If you're watching on LinkedIn, we can't see, I can't see who's watching right now, Ashley. Any more questions, we would love them. We'll address them. We could go on a couple minutes longer. We're happy to do it. But what do you think of my statement about the 10 million jobs lost between now and the end of the calendar year? Do you think that's unrealistic? Do you think I'm crazy?
I think that's high. I do think it will affect things, but I don't think it'll be quite that high. I'd say, maybe half that.
It's very arbitrary.
I guess I'm hoping. I guess I'm just trying to be optimistic on that. I think that it'll change, and I think that it will ease people and make their workload easier. I don't think it'll necessarily take away their job. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think we're there yet. Maybe we'll see that in 3 years, 2 years, but I don't think right now, this year.
So real world, our tiny little company, right? Our startup ZenGig. That was not an exaggeration what I shared earlier. We just took away Chat GPT. We didn't take it away because it was never given, but we were planning to hire 3 or 4 people for a project that we no longer need to hire for, right? Yeah. And that bothers me, like I said, because I multiply that times thousands and thousands of companies, and those numbers add up really quickly. And I think everyone assumes what you just said, Ashley, that this is going to be over a period of years. And at the current pace, like I said, just from the evolution of 3.5 to 4 to seeing the use of the tools, this new, I can barely even keep up with what's happening, what I'm following on Twitter, and the number of new applications coming out. The speed of this is what concerns me, because I've never seen anything like it. And just because everyone's not paying attention doesn't mean it isn't happening. And that's what.
That's really going to be the thing. I think people should look. People just need to keep themselves aware of what's going on, and do your best. Like that. And that's going back to videos and deep fakes and all that. Teaching people to think critically and to recognize those things and that they're out there is the first step. That's how you keep your cybersecurity is with people stealing passwords. Just simply telling people that that's how they do it, and that exists is like the main way to do it. So telling people that what's happening, the speed at which it's happening, just be aware, like that's going to go a long way. I
And
hope.
if you're entering college, like be cautious with what major you choose because you never know. It can take over your job when you graduate, and then you have this degree just sitting there.
All right. So what advice do you have? Not getting any more questions right now. What advice do you have for your generation with this, other than what you just shared?
I'd say, don't stay behind. Be aware, like Peter said, and try to use it. Try to do research. Try to communicate with it, and like train yourself, and be prepared for what might come in the future as it evolves.
Yeah, I would tell my generation, people, my friends, and everything, like be on top, be ahead of the curve. Like learn as much as you can. Be aware of it. Like if people are, I guess, be self-serving. If people are going to get left behind, make sure it's not you. Like,
yeah,
go ahead and do as much, research as you can. Try it out for yourself. Just be aware of these things so that, if change does come, you see it coming.
And I think that's the perfect way to say it. I can't say it any better. Are you okay? So if you look forward, do you do it with excitement or fear or both? Because for me, it's both.
I'd say both.
I'd say both. More excitement than fear, though. I just think things are going to change. I don't think it's going to it'll be the end of life as we know it, but I think that it's just going to be something new. So
yeah,
it'd be that for sure. All right, well, that is it. We hit our 30 minutes. Thank you for joining us. If you have one last chance for questions, and we'll say goodbye for today and come up with our next topic for next Tuesday. So thank you guys.
all right.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.